Welcome to the course European Ritual Cuisine, Digital Presentation and Preservation. Module 1 explores ritual recipes and their documenting via usage of new digital technologies. And this lesson will contain information on historical and cultural value, criteria for recipe preservation, and identification of ritual recipes, national and cultural significance. Food is the great unifier that connects us across cultures and generations. Traditional recipes are not only the unique practices and know-how passed from generation to generation, but is a significant part of the intangible cultural heritage. Traditional food culture is the connection, beliefs, and experience we have with food. It incorporates cultural heritage and ethnicity, environmental culture, and the way of surrounding impact the foods we eat and the way we experience them. Gastronomy is also artisanal practice, human creativity, and part of cultural and social expressions of cultural heritage that should be preserved, in particular those recipes that are in danger of extinction. The historical and cultural value criteria is the basis to understand the significance of the traditional recipes and the impact they have on local economy development. There are many different ritual food cultures of the world, some more distinctive and globally famous than others, and some which very rarely leave their regional environment, but are still just as significant to local community they influence. Ritual food cultures often vary regionally, even within one country, depending on the landscape, weather, and history that each region uniquely experienced. But regardless of what ingredients, flavors, or traditions exist between the ritual food cultures of the world, there are two things that act as connected threads woven through all of them: community and pleasure. Food cultures were founded on the way in which food was used to celebrate religious holidays, community events, and family gatherings. In other words, food was celebrated and respected as an essential part of what makes humans a human. We have all had those moments when we smelled something that reminded us of our childhood or recreated a dish that we had abroad that immediately brought us back to that foreign place. Food can quite literally propel people to another time, another country, another culture without even leaving their dinner table, which is why traditional food culture is such an important way how people are able to connect and relate to one another. Ritual food, which is very often associated with particular traditions, is a lens through which we can learn about environment and where food comes from. The digitalization of cultural tangible and intangible heritage as traditional gastronomy is very important for tourism, considering that, first, it promotes experiences that has an important impact for tourism economy. It provides contacts with local history, local cultures, and allows the interaction with the authentic attributes of places, a key in sustainable tourism. Increase the numbers of tourists that are looking for new experiences related with cultural and historical identity that are very representative of the diversity of products and places. Traditional dishes are associated with cultural and religious events that could develop tourism. Gastronomy is an important resource in tourism and an added value in any country in the world and part of cultural heritage of countries and places that opens the desire to visit a country and try the authentic taste of dishes. Understanding a culture through food is an interesting process because once a person starts asking these questions, such as how something is made, what ingredients are in, or why it is called a certain way, the answers obtained go beyond culinary learning. In these answers, food tells us something about culture's approach to life. In the end, we can say that food functions symbolically as a communicative practice by which we create, manage, and share meanings with others. Understanding culture, habits, rituals, and tradition can be explored through food and the way others perceive it. The identification and safeguard of food heritage has been embraced by organizations ranging from private foundations to governments, from the regional to national levels. The goal is not only to maintain products, dishes, or practices, because of their value as important components of culture, but also to present the society only those food culture examples which determine ritual food value as important component of culture and possible engine for further community development and growth. The act of eating is more than physical. It's also about our emotional needs. Ritual food is one which lets us to explore not only the taste, but also ethnocultural traits, as well as the folklore and traditions connected with it. The processes involved in preparing, serving, and sharing foods and drinks might appear simple, but they often carry important social and cultural significance. The meaning of ritual food we can observe, for example, if in feasting activities performed in most ancient and modern societies, often accompanied by entertainment and traditional events. Goals served by feasting include paying debts, displaying opulence, gaining allies, frightening enemies, negotiating war and peace, celebrating rites of passage, communicating with gods, and honoring the dead. Feasting still occurs today, still marking particular events. These include culturally significant calendar dates, such as Christmas, New Year's Day, Thanksgiving, or Easter, often carrying religious meanings, at least in their origins, and frequently connected with important junctures in the agricultural calendar, winter solstice, harvest time, and so on. In the photography, here you can see traditional Latvian Christmas feasting. When tradition says you need 9 dishes to be present on the table, and it says that these dishes must be eaten till midnight to retain one's wealth. Another important aspect of the identification of ritual food is heritage. Thus it's crucial to set the heritage dimensions and to evaluate multiple food concepts relating to heritage to define if the dish complies with the heritage food concept. The food and its recipe can be considered as a heritage if it has gained attention and recognition by locals as a cultural identity, and further by tourists as a new food experience. 3 main heritage dimensions identified by literature are legacy, people, and place. That means that we can identify the food as ritual if it has been perceived as cultural legacy associated with particular community and geographical place. As an example, in a photography is shown the dish murcovka, which is characteristic for region of Latgale in Latvia, and has been introduced hundreds of years ago as a fasting food, but is still included in traditional cuisine nowadays. Not all things we eat have been so well preserved. Throughout history, foods have ebbed and flowed in popularity and abundance, and few have even disappeared. This is another reason to include endangered recipes in a ritual food category. The food can be at an extinction risk due to shortage of its ingredients, lost traditions, or living recipe witnesses. For example, some of apple varieties growing decades ago have disappeared. The wheat used to make bread today is different than the wheat used 20 years ago in the same recipe. Mass production in farming has caused a homogenization of certain foods. The picture of bitter orange blossoms tells the story of one of the endangered recipes, bitter orange flower water from Valebona Valley in Italy, in local dialect called scura de citron water, which was used to flavor fritters called boogie, typical of Carnival in the rest of Italy, but here made for festivities throughout the year. The Guglielmi family opened a distillery in Valebona in 1865, but closed it in the early 60s when the flower harvest stopped being profitable. The tradition was gradually lost, along with the art of distillation, thanks to the chemical industry, which was able to produce artificial aromas and essences very cheaply. Food has also a significant impact in forming of local history and living communities' memories. It helps to define and redefine who we are and is essential to defining the manner by which people's emotional, psychological, social, economic, political, historical, and cultural realities are embodied as a lived and living history. Social practices connected with ritual food are closely linked to a community's worldview and perception of its own history and memory, help to reinforce a sense of identity and continuity with the past. For example, in many communities, greeting ceremonies are informal, while in others they are more elaborate and ritualistic, acting as a marker of identity for the society. In a picture you can see karavai bread, which is a part of a traditional Russian welcome ceremony, where hosts bring out the karavai on an embroidered towel and offer it to the guests or visitors. The symbolic meaning of the salt is that the person who is being treated to the karavai gets the chance and this last chance to nasolit, meaning literally to add salt and figuratively to do a bad turn to someone, or to the kosin, after which everybody is supposed to be kind, decent, and caring toward each other. This is information about identification of ritual recipes, national and cultural significance, which is elaborated by an international project Eurica working group. Please see our next lessons in order to explore digital presentation and preservation of Europe ritual cuisine.